Starting right behind me, this gorgeous bush is a burning bush. Good morning. Welcome to a very foggy day on Vancouver Island. Today is October 14th and we're going to do a little garden highlights tour. If you're new here, my name is Lisa and I garden on central Vancouver Island in the Pacific Northwest, zone 7 to 8. It's absolutely one of my favorite bushes in the garden for fall. It is just glorious. All these colors of burgundy, there's gold and yellow and green and vibrant red, all on the same bush. It is absolutely stunning. Coming this way, we still have some of my single pink knockout roses are still blooming. Definitely have a little deadheading to do, but that will come. These roses on Vancouver Island will sometimes bloom until the first snow, which can be anywhere from end of October to January, depending on our weather. Coming this way, we have one of my Desert King fig trees, just starting to get its lovely golden color. Going towards our gravel pathway, this is one of my other knockout roses. This is a double pink knockout rose. And it still also has lots of blooms as well as flower buds on it. And it rained last night, so everything is quite wet. But that's okay, the garden definitely needs the rain. Coming up the gravel pathway, we've got groups of autumn joy sedum. There's some here, more here, and a blueberry bush. One of the things I love about blueberry bushes is their awesome fall color. Check out these leaves. They're just so many different shades of red and orange with a little hint of green. Burgundy is so beautiful. Coming up this way, this is one of my Japanese maples. I actually don't know what this variety is called. I grew this from a tiny seedling. Almost 10 years ago, I was out in one of our local parks that has Japanese maples, and I spotted a bunch of the baby seedlings. So I decided to pull them out because I knew the gardeners that maintain the park would pull them out as weeds. It was literally probably 1.5 to 2 inches in height, the seedling I took home with me. And almost 10 years later, the tree beside me, that is what you are looking at. It was this big when I planted it. Check out this Japanese maple now. I'm 5'4". I cannot touch the top of this tree. I'm gonna guess it must be, it's gotta be close to 7 feet tall. And yes, it took me almost 10 years to grow a Japanese maple this size, but maples tend to be very expensive, at least on Vancouver Island. And if you want one in your garden and you can't really afford to spend, say the average cost is $50 to $100 for a small to medium-sized plant, go to a local park in the spring or even go on a walk in a neighborhood with lots of gardens, you're bound to see some seedlings. Pick them up, plant them in a garden area that gets adequate moisture, possibly has some wood chips, and within a few years you will have a decent sized Japanese maple. Much cheaper than buying them at the garden center. And you may even get different varieties that you can't find at your local garden center. So definitely recommend planting those baby seedlings that many gardeners pull out as weeds. I did a little bit of garden renovation yesterday. I have a creeping thyme slope that I was really tired of. I hated all the clover that was constantly growing in it, and it had many dead patches. So although you're still seeing a lot of it, pretty much all of the mulched area that you're now seeing in different areas here was creeping thyme just yesterday. So I did some dividing on my creeping phlox. I'll link that video in the description if you've never seen it. And I just put a whole pile of creeping phlox in here. It should do really well in this area. And it should be more weed resistant than creeping thyme. From my experience gardening, that does tend to be the case. Creeping thyme I personally do not recommend in terms of maintenance. It's a very high maintenance if you want to have it look good and not be full of weeds. I haven't had an experience here or even in my parents' garden where it has been easy to take care of. It's always been a high maintenance plant, creeping thyme. And here's another view of this gravel pathway. Coming on up, we have a barberry bush, another blueberry, and another barberry bush. Coming into the vegetable garden, I did do a bit of a massacre yesterday. There's definitely still flowers blooming, but I took out a lot of sunflowers and removed my bean trellises. But we still have some beautiful sunflowers blooming. This is one of my favorites right here. This is a multi-stemmed variety. And my other favorite is also a multi-stem variety and is also a petite flower, just like the one I showed you, a different shade. This one I believe is called Italian White Ice. And if I remember correctly, I bought it from Mary's Heirloom Seeds, I believe. And coming this way, we've got a very leaned over sunflower combo here with these little ones and these bigger ones at the top. They're kind of all leaning over together in the vegetable garden. Coming this way, we have my rock rose shrubs. I don't show these a lot on the channel, but they actually tend to bloom best in the cooler temperatures, and the colors are more vibrant in the cooler temperatures. This is an orange one, and the one behind it doesn't have flowers right now, but it is pink when it blooms. Heading into the rock garden now. Burst of autumn color right here. This is a spirea bush, and yes, I am saying the name of the plant incorrectly. I can never say it correctly. I can never pronounce the name of this bush properly, but it is absolutely gorgeous. I love the seed pods from the flowers. I love the foliage. It is just stunning fall color. And we're going to journey just a little further over into the Boulevard Fairy Garden to show you something very interesting has been happening. Somebody put a bird into my fairy garden. I am quite fascinated by this, and not only did they put this here, yesterday when I saw this, it had double the amount of pink feathers, and now 3/4 of them are gone. I am super fascinated by what's going on here. It might not fit in entirely to the Halloween theme, but I'm going to use this bird as inspiration for a November fairy garden. I am so fascinated that somebody took the time to add to my fairy garden. That is really special. And coming along this way, something else was added into my fairy garden right here. I did not put this here. Oh dear, the zombie is growing. No joke, this is from the dollar store. And it was supposed to grow, and it did rain, so that it does explain why it's growing, but I hadn't actually observed it growing yet, so that's really interesting. This box was not something I put here. I did open it up yesterday because I was curious. I'll show you. It's nothing to get too excited about. It's actually an empty box, but I did find it fascinating that somebody put it in the fairy garden. Did they mean it as just tossing it out as garbage, or was there a hidden meaning here? I do not know, but definitely fascinated by what's going on with this community fairy garden on my boulevard that I started. Didn't know that this would be the outcome, but quite fascinated. You can see a lot of the pieces have... Oh! I didn't put this here either. Oh my gosh, I did not know this. I'm super fascinated by what's happening here. No joke, I seriously did not know this was here. Very, very cute. Now I'm gonna have even more inspiration for future fairy gardens. I just love that people are adding to them. Let's take a look at the rest of this garden and see if there's any more surprises that I'm unaware of. Well, I think everything else checks out. Things are falling around. Things have moved around a little bit, but that's all right. It's not as pristine as when I assembled it, but I can always shift things around a little bit. Coming back into the regular garden here, we have more autumn joy sedum all throughout this border. I was going to show you the fairy garden that I made, and I just noticed there are birds. And I think they're eating from my pathway of sunflower seeds. Coming up this way in my rock garden, my gray sword is on its second or third blooming session. It blooms spring, summer, and fall, but predominantly in the spring and a little bit more in the fall. These lovely blue flowers. And coming up this way, we have my aster collection. This is one of the original asters I've had for a few years. These are also asters that are not doing well. I've also had them for a few years. And this is one I planted this season. Very vibrant. This is also a new planting right here. And some more over here. This one is a lovely color right here. Love this purpley fuchsia color. Got a few purple pansies starting to make a comeback in the rock garden. Fall has arrived in this Halloween fairy garden. When I made it, there were definitely not leaves on the ground like they are now. Let's take a quick peek at this fairy garden. Lots of spooky stuff happening here. Thank you so much for joining me on my middle of October garden tour. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the thumbs up button. And we'll see you in another area of the garden very soon. Have a lovely day, evening, night, wherever you are. Bye for now.